Are we good on audio?
Yes, I'm about to check right now.
All
Carlos.
Well, let's see. My name's Carlos Cruz. I've probably got a lot of volume.
right. Testing.
That sound amazing. Alrighty. And Carlos, we're starting off with you. And 3, 2.
How you doing, Texas, and everybody else out there? This is Carlos Cruz with eMortgage Capital. I've got Ryang Gonzales with Becker Properties. We just kind of wanted to talk about what's going on in the market and what's happening with real estate. More importantly, how the new tax bill is affecting you. Ryan, when you read over that tax bill summary that I sent you, what were your initial thoughts or questions?
So when I looked over the tax bill, there's a couple of things that are going to be very helpful for real estate investors and real estate owners. So you owning your own property, there's certain tax deductions that are going to help families as far as property taxes. If you own multiple properties, it helps you even more because there's a deduction called SALT that allows you to write off more taxes than it did before.
Let's talk about that. The SALT limit in the bill that passed a few years ago capped out what you could deduct on your state and local taxes at $10,000. Mm-hmm. This new bill allows us to deduct up to $40,000 in state and local taxes. I mean, we're talking about sales tax, we're talking about your property tax, we're talking about your investment properties taxes. All of those things now get a higher limit of $40,000, reducing your tax footprint, helping you and your family save more money.
Yeah, and this is going to run through, I believe, 2029.
5 years, right? I think so.
2029, I believe.
The other thing that was interesting is they made permanent the deduction on mortgage insurance, mm-hmm. which is just another avenue to help families save more money on their tax bill.
Can you explain what mortgage insurance is?
So mortgage insurance is when a lender says you've done a loan and you are still carrying a level of risk that they're not comfortable with, they want to protect their money. And they require that you pay them an insurance policy, a fee, so that they can protect their money in case you default or something happens to the loan and perhaps even go bankrupt. Yeah. So it protects the lender for a certain period of time. Unfortunately, on FHA loans, it's permanent. So what we try and do is if we need to get somebody into an FHA loan, we'll stay with them over the years to build a plan to get them out of that loan into a conventional loan and get rid of that mortgage insurance.
Yeah, because then you can go to conventional or refinance to conventional once you have 20% equity in the home, right?
You may not need to, right? For example, let's say you bought a home at $200,000 4 years ago on an FHA loan. Well, we all know that $200,000 4 years ago is probably worth, I don't know, $30,000 more today, mm-hmm. $25,000 more today. So now your value is at $225,000, but you've also been making payments for 4 years. And so maybe we can look at refinancing you because now you have a lower LTV, loan to value, and now maybe we can look at even buying you out of mortgage insurance if we flip it to conventional. So there's a lot of opportunity to save money again.
Sure. And that mortgage insurance is not too expensive, but I mean over a course of a lot of years, you're paying a couple $1,000 on that.
Well, I mean, it's not like you're just paying your Starbucks bill, right? I mean, it's on a $400,000 loan. It's probably up there around $150 to $200 a month.
Yeah. And
you may not notice it, but at the end of the year, that's $2,000 that you just threw away. And all it did was go to a lender to protect them.
Yeah. And now you can write it off. So that's
absolutely.
And it's permanent now. So that's awesome.
Yeah. One of the other things that I noticed on here was, let's see, as I scroll through it, bear with me. The big one was the SALT deduction. The next one was probably the mortgage insurance. And then I think you and I were talking about one a minute ago. What was it called? The QBI?
QBI, yeah, the Qualified Business Income Deduction. So anybody who has a small business, just about, there are certain exceptions, but real estate investors, or if you have a small business where you're selling products and services, you can qualify for a 23% deduction of your income. So it used to be 20, now it's 23. And so this is huge because if you make, for example, $100,000 a year, they're only going to tax you on 76 of it or 77 of it instead of the whole 100,000. So this is huge just right off the bat.
So let me
being
get
a
this straight.
small
Let's
business
say
owner.
let's say I've got a regular job, W-2. I can't claim that. But let's say on the side, I do hair or I do nails or I have a real estate property that I have to go manage. I now get to claim a larger deduction and pay less taxes.
Huge, yeah. Yeah, you do.
Well, I consider that a win.
That's awesome. Yeah, and anybody who does like side businesses like that where it's hair, like specifically barbers or Uber drivers or something like that, they also have another deduction that's coming to them. There's not going to be any taxes on tips up to a certain amount.
23,000, I think, was the number.
I think it's 23, 25, something like that.
Yeah.
But that's huge for them because they make most of their money off doing the service, but they also get tips. And so for you not to be taxed on that, that's huge.
Now, I had this conversation with a buddy of mine. He was very adamant. He thought that was really good to everybody. But as I explained to him, and this is really a conversation I think that we want to have with a CPA when we get them on the show, is I believe you have to have enough deductions to itemize. So if you don't own a home and you don't itemize your taxes and you just file the 1040 EZ, I don't think you get to take advantage of that extra 23 grand.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a CPA question.
Definitely
I don't know.
a CPA question, yeah.
Hopefully it's applying to everybody because let's be real, ever since the beginning of the bigger use or larger use of credit cards and debit cards to pay your beer tab or to pay your credit your Uber bill, it's limiting what these service industry people can claim or receive because now they're getting taxed on everything.
Yeah.
And it's, I mean, I hate to use the word again, fair. It's not.
Well, yeah, so it might not apply to everybody, but I think it's huge for some people that make a good amount of money.
I hope so.
And like
yeah.
you said, itemized stuff, and that goes for overtime as well. They're getting some.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So overtime relief too.
Yeah. Well, overtime's not going to get taxed. Up to a certain amount.
Okay.
I think it's 12,000. I think it's 12,500 to be exact for overtime.
I'd buy that.
Yeah.
I mean, again.
Yeah. And I don't know what the qualifications are exactly, but like you said, we'll get the CPA on here and we'll talk a little bit more about it.
Look, I know that there's a lot of people that feel or see this bill as negative. And without getting political and focusing on who is losing, I think it's important to look at who's winning. And it's not just rich people. It's people that are hustling. You know, you might have a normal W-2 job, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, but you might still have 2 other small businesses that you're using to supplement income. I mean, my mother worked 3 jobs so that she could afford to buy a home.
Well, it encourages a small business owner for sure, but it also it's I believe it's raising the standard deduction for your taxes as well, or it's making it permanent.
Okay.
Yeah, and so the standard deduction is just a standard deduction you get on your taxes when you file. And I believe I saw something about either making it permanent or raising it or both.
So what I'm hearing is we need a CPA
Yeah, definitely.
that can speak English to both of us and explain where this is beneficial and where there's some impact to families, individuals, small business owners, so that we can try and get a better picture of who's going to benefit. Because like I said, it's easy to just look at who's getting negatively impacted or held accountable and miss out on really some of the good aspects of the new bill.
Now there are some other benefits for real estate investors or developers, people that are doing 1031 exchanges. That became permanent. And,
That's huge.
I don't know if you heard about it, but it was...
Yeah, I'd read about that.
The 1031 exchange was something that I think the Democrat Party was going to try to take away. And that's huge because that defers taxes for real estate investors and allows them to re-leverage their
investment.
Their investment
And reinvest back into a community.
Yes, exactly. So if you look at the trickle down effect of what it does for investors versus what it could have prohibited them from doing, I think it's huge because it can overall help the lower income families as well when it comes to like rentals. There's a lot more people renting right now.
Right.
And I mean, we need that housing. We definitely need it. There's still a shortage in certain areas. And so that's huge, I think. There's certain things that are going to stay for real estate investors when it comes to doing DSCR loans,
right,
and using certain programs. They're still going to get those same tax benefits and write-off for doing those programs, which again is going to help them still continue to develop and create more housing for us, which we need.
Speaking of DSCR programs, it's interesting being a broker. I've often talked about how we're able to basically, well, not even basically, just fundamentally destroy any retail lender. I mean, not only with better rates, but better products, but more options. Just recently, we had a buyer, and he travels the world, and he missed some mortgage payments, and the builder lender made a mistake, got him under contract, and unfortunately, he couldn't close the loan. So the builder called me and asked me if I could save the loan. And fortunately, I have a product. It was pretty cool. It's a DSCR product. And if you want to know what a DSCR loan is, it's just a debt servicing credit ratio. That's what the acronym stands for. And what it means is, does the rent equal or exceed the mortgage payment? Or does it fall below? And based on that criteria, instead of qualifying you, the borrower, and getting your financials and getting all your docs, what we're really looking at is the property. Does the property make money, and does that loan make sense? Now, I've got DSCR products that'll take a 10 or a 15% down payment. The rate's pretty ugly. Most of them require 20%, okay? And some of them even 25. For this guy, there was no one that was going to do the loan. His credit score was too low. What his sister's doing is buying the property as an investment, using the DSCR product. He will then rent from her. And then what we're looking at is, what is that rent ratio? And we were concerned because it's such a new community, is there going to be a rent that's going to be equal to or above that payment? And we felt like it would be short. Well, I've got an investor that will do this based on interest only, and he's still getting a 6.99 rate.
Yeah, that's crazy. When you told me about that product, I was blown away because that doesn't make much sense to me. But it's an in-house product, right?
It's an in-house product. This company is using hedge fund money from the profits, and they're backing their own loans. And I thought the rate would be 8-9%. It's 6.99.
Sheesh.
I mean, it's just a smoking deal, and it gives somebody a chance to get into a home, and then he and I will partner to help him build his credit, and then at closing, we'll add him to the deed, so he'll be an owner, and then down the road, they'll be able to refinance and put it back in his name.
So what were the qualifications for this type of loan? What did she need versus what? Was it credit or?
So it's funny that you asked, because one of the things that we had was she had gone to the bank, and the bank said, oh, we can do this loan.
Yeah, right.
And out of their ignorance, they couldn't do the loan. Banks can't do DSCR loans. So why does it need to be a DSCR loan? Well, Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae, they have rules regarding their investment loan program. And one of the rules does not allow a gift for the closing. Not towards the down payment, not towards closing costs. No gift is allowed.
For an investment type loan.
From an investment loan for Freddie and Fannie, which is what the banks do.
That's all they do. Pretty much. They
couldn't do the deal.
Yeah.
And so what they did was they not only poisoned this woman on this perception that this loan could be done, but now delayed my ability to get working on the loan by almost 7 days.
So in this scenario, the brother is giving the sister a gift.
$100,000 for the down payment.
See, and that's another thing that's just so mind-blowing right there.
Yeah. So it just opens up another avenue.
You normally
for
can't do
investors.
that on investor loans.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
That's crazy.
And then do the interest-only calculation against the DSCR.
Yeah.
They're not even going to count the taxes. They're not going to count the insurance. They're not going to count the HOA fee. They're only going to look at the interest and does the insurance cover it.
So she had to have a certain credit score for this?
Yes. I mean, they're only going to do this loan over 700.
Over 700.
And fortunately, she's at 796, so she's in a really good place.
Well, we got 700s.
Yeah.
Maybe we go find an investor
Sounds like
to
we
do
need
this.
to do this. We can get a gift.
Yeah, go get a gift from an investor.
You know a guy? I might know a guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of products out there. And then the nice thing about the 1031 exchange is, if we were to choose to sell that property after it made money, instead of paying taxes on that money and reducing what we could buy for the next property, we can take that profit, put it into the next company or the next property that we buy, and make money again and do another renovation instead of having to wait 6 months or a year to save more money.
Yeah.
So these rules are beneficial if you look at it from the point of view of it's giving us an opportunity to rehab homes that might be neglected, that might not get rehabilitated or sellable or livable. And in a market where we need more affordable housing, I just think it's a win. I mean, helping families buy homes that are affordable matters. These house prices are crazy.
There was one more thing in this bill that I just thought about when you were saying that. There's going to be new opportunity zones for investors, basically meaning that it's going to the Fed is going to, I believe, force local and state governments to open up these opportunity zones because they want to create new development in these areas, and they're going to give better and more incentives to investors to do it, which again is going to create more housing in certain areas, and then create just more businesses and more growth.
So there's always going to be somebody that sees the negative in that statement, right? Oh, well, you're talking about gentrification and you're going to force people out of the neighborhood because now investors are buying all the properties. I think that's a small-minded point of view. Yes, gentrification is real, but it's going to happen. And I think it's better that it happens in an area where there are homes that might be unsafe to live in, and repair those homes so that people can live in them. I mean, there's areas of San Antonio that people just automatically assume are unsafe just because of where they're at. And is it because maybe there's 5 abandoned houses on the same street that could have been rehabilitated? And if we could get rid of some of those and fix them up and then put families in that actually want to make it a home, that is a good thing.
Yeah. Well, you always get some pushback on stuff like that in the beginning, and then eventually people start seeing the light at the end of the tunnel when it starts happening.
I mean, we're not talking about evicting people. We're talking about changing a living standard in their community for homes that people can now afford to buy. That matters.
Definitely. And I think along with this bill is just become more opportunities for investor as a whole. And when it comes to housing and there's new products coming out where we're trying to make housing affordable with different type of materials, or like you've seen that big machine that's
printing houses,
basically printing houses. Yeah. So there's different ideas coming around, I believe, and I think it's just going to open up our opportunities overall.
Well, just look at the rule in Texas regarding a barn dominium. Are you familiar with what that is?
No, I mean I know what that is, but what's the new rule?
So it's not a new rule. It's just a rule that a lot of people aren't aware of. So if you buy a property, I believe it has to be 10 acres or 5 acres. I don't remember the number. And you were to put a barn, you can live in that barn as long as you live in less than 50% of it. So what happens is, let's say you build a 4,000 square foot barn, as long as your residence inside that barn is under 2,000 square feet, then you're taxed completely different instead of it being a residential property, which carries a higher tax rate. So it's a lot of ways to put families in rural communities and have a home that has lower taxes and it's a motivation to push people out of just being stuck in a suburb
Growing
or
the city.
in the city,
Yeah, trying to grow the city.
and live in the rural parts of the area. And it's just there's a lot of really good things that are happening in Texas.
That's what USDA does too.
Yeah.
I mean, they incentivize you with a 0 down loan, which is awesome.
And a great rate and a lower mortgage. I mean, it's just USDA loans are very hard products to get to work.
They used to be easier.
They used to be easier. A lot of things used to be easier.
I used to do a lot of those, yeah.
I honestly probably haven't done a USDA loan in 3 or 4 years.
It's been a while, right?
And it's frustrating because it is a good product.
Yeah, it just encouraged everybody to buy outside city limits and therefore growing the city. It makes sense.
I mean, I remember when that outside of the city was 1604, 20 years ago.
It wasn't bad, right?
Yeah, I mean, and you thought, well, hell, I mean, I'm just 10 minutes, 20 minutes from downtown. But unfortunately, the world is changing, and that's just getting further and further away.
Mm-hmm.
It is what it is on that spec. What else do we have going on? I know that business has been busy. Oh, here's a funny one. So a recruiter called me just recently and was asking me questions about business and how things are going. And then he made a comment. He says, well, you've only done X number of loans and you've only closed Y dollars in loans. And I thought, well, that's because you can't see everything that I closed. And as a broker, if I close a loan in another state that's a non-QM loan, that might not show up in my name because it's going to close under their company. And so my production is not going to be accurate. In fact, almost every broker's number is not going to be accurate. I've got a buddy of mine that's closing about 20 loans a month, but if you looked on his data, it only shows about 8 loans a month.
He's a broker too?
Yeah. So it's a cool time to be a broker because you really get left alone by these recruiters, and you can stay focused on doing your business. That's nice.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, it's just when you're in retail, all you're dealing with all day long is somebody trying to buy you and give you a free check and, suffer with crappy rates for a year or two.
That signing bonus?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's such a scam. What else do we have?
I'm looking right now.
I know that rates were coming down a little bit. And then, unfortunately, with this new announcement of more tariffs and Powell still politicizing the Fed, we're not going to see rates come down anytime soon. And it is frustrating because even if we just had half a point or 3/4 of a point lower rates across the board, even to the retail guys, you'd see more families get into the business of owning a home and investing in themselves. And that's what hurts. I mean, robbing families from the chance to buy a home and forcing them to continue to rent, it's not cool.
Yeah, so there's still supposed to be a couple rate cuts this year, or?
I would say I don't know. And anyone that tries to tell you they do know is full of shit. Yeah. I mean, right now there's just a lot of volatility that Powell will not bend on. And that's not fair. That really isn't. I mean, there's a chance to, like I said, there's a chance for families right now to get into homes, and it's just so hard for them to think about how. They're scared.
Yeah, but I think throughout the year we've seen a little bit more people coming out and testing the waters a little bit, coming off the fence. And I think it's just a matter of talking to them more about what's going on and them seeing that rates really haven't done too much in the last couple of years. They've gone down a little bit. They're kind of stabilizing. I think people are getting used to the fact that, hey, this might be kind of the new normal. We might see a little bit of rate drop in the next year or so, but with all this going on right now, like you said, with the tariffs and the new bills coming out, who knows? Because we're still trying to do other things besides lower rates. So it's tough.
I think the biggest comment that I've got is you're seeing investors still buying homes. And it's easy to be a renter or a regular person saying, well, yeah, because they have all this money. No, they just have more of an appetite for risk. They don't want to pay somebody else's rent. They want to make money. And getting off the fence and buying a home is your best bet at wealth. I look at my dad. My dad didn't buy a home for, I think he was already 60 when he bought his first home. And my dad wouldn't have a place to live. He'd have to live with us, you know, if he hadn't done that. My dad wouldn't have any legacy to pass on that he considers important. So buying a home really does matter. And I mean, they're not going to get cheaper.
Yeah, you're right about that. It doesn't seem like they're going to get cheaper anytime soon because the inventory is still not as high as people think it is, even though the media is painting this picture. There are certain areas that, of course, have more inventory than they probably should, or it's a little bit over the norm, more than pre-pandemic. And pre-pandemic, I mean, we were looking at like 4 months inventory or 4.5, and we're just above that. Maybe we're at like 5 in San Antonio, in some areas even lower than that. The national is around 4. So it's just not enough supply out there to really drop houses right now. Even though they slowed down in appreciation, there's still housing areas that are appreciating. And so it's with people still buying, it's tough to just sit on the sideline. And so if you look at that, then what are you going to do? You're going to rent for another 2-3 years and just
throw away another $50,000.
Yeah, just hope.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, it's gross. I mean, you got to have a place to live. I had one young girl call me about, and I say young girl, she was probably 24, 23. She asked me, she said, what would it take to buy a home? And we talked about what income, and then we talked about her bills. And then she said, well, I want to look at homes in this area. So we looked on the different websites, and I said, well, look, to buy a home in that area, you have to have an income of, let's say $7,000 or $8,000. Well, she was only at $3,000. And she was like really depressed. She goes, oh, well, I guess I can't buy a home. I said, time out. I said, do you have a brother? Do you have a sister? Do you have a friend that you guys would consider? And she said, you can do that. And I said, yeah, you can. So she and her brother and one of their childhood friends are thinking about buying a home now. They were all 3 paying rent, and they want to put their money together and buy a home. I'm not saying it's the smartest thing to do or the worst thing to do. It's just another way of paying less money and keeping more money and then making some money.
Still a ton of people that don't know about those options, right? That they can even do that.
I had a realtor call me. She's been in the business 20 years. And even she asked me, she goes, can a brother and sister apply together and buy? Yes, they can. It's worth it.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I'm supposed to call them later today because they want to buy. So there's some really good things happening. I know that what concerns me is if rates drop too quickly. Hopefully, they come down consistently and slowly, because if they come down quickly, you're going to just see a mad rush again.
Yeah.
And that's, again, we don't have a stable supply of inventory. Builders have slowed down. So what's going to happen is we're going to have a situation where we now have a housing shortage again, and now prices skyrocket again. So I do hope that if Powell gets off his ass and actually does lower rates, and if we see the 10-year continued in that line and we see mortgage rates come down, I do hope they happen slowly, because it is concerning if it's too quickly. It really is. I remember the bidding wars. You remember, you'd show a house and you'd have to make 3-4 counteroffers.
Oh yeah.
And families were losing out left and right.
Those were some crazy times, man. 20 offers was normal in a house.
It made no sense, but it's what we had to deal with. What else do we have going on? What's going on in your world right now? Any new flips? Any new construction? Any new purchases?
I would say the newest thing right now is you connected me with a guy, an investor that's been flipping homes, and he's fairly new at it. I feel like I mean, we all feel like he put way too much money in this one house he just flipped. But we just got it under contract, so that's looking good. Going to have the appraisal next week. And he's going to start on his new project. And he already referred me to a buddy of his that's down south somewhere, I think in Pleasanton or Poteet or something like that. So going to look at listing his house. I got another client that had a house that just wasn't in the best shape, and they wanted to sell it as is. They were having a little bit of hardships. They wanted to get out of the house. They have a ton of equity in it. So I found a contractor that was willing to do the work up front and work out some type of payment schedule with them. They put down 25% of the overall amount, and we needed to put about 17 into it, 17, 18. And they put down 25% of that, and he's going to allow them to pay monthly interest payments
until they sell
the house.
That's cool.
And so, yeah, it costs them a little bit of points up front, if you want to call it that, and then interest payments until they sell the house. But
it makes it easier to sell the house. We've talked about this over and over again.
Yeah. I think as is, it was probably going to sell for around $230.
Okay.
Once we get done putting that 17, 18 into it, I think we'll be able to list it for like $280.
And actually sell it quickly.
Yes, yeah. It's going to be completely redone. I'm really excited about that one. And so, of course, the sellers, not knowing anything about the flip game or renovations or the cost of stuff, or like, I showed them numbers multiple times, and we've had this conversation with them probably for like 2 months and got a couple different bids, and then they finally pulled the trigger on it. So I got Anthony doing.
It's at the end of the day, when you go to sell a home, it needs to be the most presentable home that you can sell. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck on the market, or you're having to take a shortfall on what you could have earned.
Yeah.
And for a family that doesn't know the kind of context that you or I have, I mean, they potentially walked away from $30,000 or $40,000.
Yeah. There's this other client that I'm going to get in touch with too. It's a referral, and they're having a tough time selling their house right now. And I know it's pretty much in as-is condition just by basically talking to this referral that's going to send me this deal. And it's been sitting on the market for, I think, like 4 or 5 months. And it just, you need to put a little bit more time and effort into your house before you list it right now, because there's a lot of options out there. There's more than there was. People are taking the time. Unless they really fall in love with it and love it, and it's clean and move-in ready, it's tougher right now to move your house unless it's at a significant discount.
It's funny you say that. A friend of mine, she called me and she asked me to take a call for a client that she had. Is a young veteran, young Marine, and his wife wanting to buy their first house. And I've told you before, I hate doing a loan where we've wiped the family out of all their money and just to get in the house.
Yeah.
So I talked with the family, and we talked with the realtor, and I said, listen, we can do this deal. This family has perfect credit and almost no debt and a good income. I said, but they just don't have a lot of savings. And if we put them in a home and we wipe out their savings, God forbid something happens, and they may not have hot water, or they may have a hole in the roof, and now they can't fix it.
Yeah.
So we talked about that, and I said, look, where do you think the house is priced at? She said, honestly, Carlos, I think the house is priced a little low. And I said, really? She goes, yeah, I think they were just trying to move it quickly. So I said, well, they need about $10,000 in closing costs. She goes, well, let's talk to the family and see if they're open to the idea of adjusting their offer to a higher price point and asking for that $10,000.
Yeah.
We'll know today if that offer got accepted. But now what she did was she worked with the family and contacted the listing agent, made an offer $10,000 over, and asked for the $10,000 back.
Yeah, roll it into the loan, right?
And it works. It's just another way to leave this family with money in the bank.
Yeah, I'm dealing with a similar situation. It's even worse than that. They do have a little bit of money in savings, but they don't want to use that right now. And so when we're looking at down payment, they need down payment assistance money, and they need the closing cost. And so they're in a tough position right now. I think we had talked about this a couple weeks back, but there's this banker that has an in-house program. He's going to end up giving them basically a second lien on the house as their down payment. So they'll have two payments. They'll have their regular payment and they'll have their second lien payment. So it's an expensive housing payment overall. And then the rate's going to be, I think he said 8.25%. So it's an expensive product to do. And the reason why they have to go this route is because I think they have like 600 credit scores.
That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah.
So I've got a lender right now that's giving up to $7,000. Basically, you're getting into the house with a 1% down payment. But you have to have good credit, above 680, to qualify for the program.
Yeah.
And so, again, imagine you could buy a little $250,000 house and only come to the table with $2,500.
That'd be awesome. I'm going to try to get him hooked up with Aaron.
I think that'd be great.
The credit guy. Maybe he can do a couple things.
Well, I just, like I said, I hate families that have to get into this ugly situation. I mean, look, I get it. Sometimes that's the only way. It's still better than paying rent, because at least they can deduct that interest.
Yeah, I feel bad for them because they're in a rental house right now where they said the landlord's not really taking care of them, and
That's not okay.
Yeah, there's like supposedly leaks and mold and stuff building up, and there's certain things that are wrong with the house they're having to fix, and the landlord's not helping them. So they're in a tough situation right now where they really need to get out or go somewhere else.
Yikes.
Yeah.
I remember we had an apartment once, years and years ago, and it flooded. There was some water that had backed into one of the drainages, and the water backed in through the toilets and the sinks, and it flooded the apartment. It was disgusting. It was nasty. And the apartment didn't want, the management company didn't respond for almost 2 days. So I wrote him a letter, and I sent it to an attorney friend of mine, and he put it on his letterhead, and he sent it to them, certified mail. And I mean, yeah, it still took 4 days now. And we're staying with friends. And what he ended up doing was he basically said, hey, listen, we'll do all the repairs, but we're going to deduct it off the rent. Man, I had brand new carpet by Saturday. The minute they got that letter, they wanted their rent, and all of a sudden we had brand new carpet, and that apartment was clean.
Yep.
So it helps to know things. You know, had I not called a buddy and said, help, I don't know what to do, I wouldn't have gotten it fixed.
Yeah, sometimes that's all it takes,
Yeah.
right? That attorney letter.
That attorney letter was a wake-up call for that management company.
Yeah.
I tell you, I think with the amount of time that we are talking about these things, what I'm seeing is there's a lot of people now that are watching the videos more and more. We post a video, and I'll see 20 or 30 people taking a look quickly, and I've gotten calls asking me questions. So I think this is bringing people some value, which is kind of cool to hear.
Yeah, and something I still want to do is like a first-time buyer seminar, or
that'd be fun,
or just even a buyer seminar. Period, because a lot's changed in the last couple of years. So anybody who's looking at buying now, they're not going to have the same experience they did, a couple years back, especially if they bought in that hot market. So I think we put that together pretty soon.
I tried to put together a little panel of loan officers. They didn't want to participate. They felt like it was going to be a beat up session on why they only have bad rates, and so I thought it would be a cool thing, because that way you could ask each of us what can you do, what makes you a little bit better than everybody else, and yeah, I failed at that. No one wanted to be on camera with me.
Yeah, I don't blame them. Going up against a broker, they can't say much.
Oh well.
Yeah.
Shame on them. Other than that, I mean, this is going to be a really good session. I think that as we start to see this bill roll out and the people being able to save some tax money, I think over the years it's going to be a nice win for a lot of people. Not everyone, but for a lot of people.
Yeah, I think we just need to give it some time to play out,
right,
and see what happens and how these investors respond to the different deductions. I mean, this makes the whole housing market go round. First, getting the investors and developers doing certain things, and then eventually it's going to trickle down and lower costs for everybody.
Hopefully so.
I believe.
I think so.
Yeah.
All right, brother. I think we're good today.
All right.
What else you got going on? That's it?
That's it.
All right. Hey, guys, thanks for spending time with us, and have a good week.
We'll see you next time. Thanks, guys.